Good morning. It is the Going On Daily Live Morning Show, Season 2, Episode 121, Child's Play. And if you know anything about this show, you know that the title of the show has something to do with one of the segments. It may not be Mr. Chucky over here, but it will have something to do with this show. So be looking for that. Chuck?
Maybe Mr. Chucky over here.
That's right. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Put your picture here.
There you go. I'm a little bit better looking
like,
than that guy. I've had to combat
yeah, I
that
could
my
just
entire
put your
life.
head right on his body.
There you go. He's pretty well fit, so I would take that.
So, Chuck, welcome back. You know, look, we had a good time last week.
I had a great time. I appreciate you letting me come back. It says, you know, obviously I didn't drag the show down or do anything crazy like that. And
No.
I had a blast. And I think that the more comfortable I get, the more fun we're going to have. So this is going to be a great episode.
Of course. I think all the hosts worry more about me than anybody else. So you know, I tend to go off on a tangent once in a while.
Well,
you know?
So do I. We don't have anybody to keep us in line today, so we're going to have to police ourselves.
Yeah, that is true. Look, we got a great show today. We're going to be talking about, some kind of sad stuff, actually. Talking about Idaho today. That's, the childhood beliefs. I cannot wait for this. That is going to be such an awesome topic. We got some box office news. So that's going to be great. And, of course, those unwritten rules. And Chuck's going to discuss a little bit about that and, the stuff we don't talk about and the whole bit. That's going to be some great stuff, too. I cannot wait because this is going to be pretty awesome. But before we get into all of that, let's go into the business side. You watching us live right now at Rhode Island Broadcasting with Kick and YouTube. Especially YouTube. If you are on YouTube, click that little bell, subscribe, do all that stuff. So you always know when we go live and you don't ever want to miss this show because you never know what you're going to find. This show is pretty great. We have, 7, 8 different hosts that we rotate in and out all week. And, at the end of the show, you'll be able to get the links of all the people. And once Ron is on top of his game, he will add Chuck and Kyle to that list as well. So you'll be able to follow along with everybody. But we'll have Chuck's information up there. So just now that we're talking about it, Chuck. What podcast are you coming to us from?
Well, I am from the Keeping It Real podcast, and tomorrow is actually the 4-year anniversary of episode 1 of my show. So I think that it's a pretty amazing accomplishment that I never really thought would be humanly possible. And now I feel like I'm going to lock in. I've got 225 episodes. My goal now is 2,500. So I'm going to be about 139 years old when I get there. If I continue doing one a week, that's just going to give me a reason to stick around and continue to be on this planet because got to get that 2,500.
Yeah, you got to get there. I feel like we're going to do that this year with this show alone.
I love it. Yeah, and I'm going to start counting these episodes as well.
21.
These are going to count. This is going to count towards my 2,500.
There you go. See, no problem. Right? You can also watch us on Twitch at RI_broadcasting. So be one of those Twitchers. Is that what they call them? Twitchers?
That's what I would call them. A bunch of Twitchers.
I like that. Look, you could subscribe, which helps the show out tremendously. It gives us support and it lets us keep the lights on. And also, if you just want to throw out a couple of bits, if you throw out 2 bits, they're only 2 pennies. This way, Chuck can throw in his 2 cents and then, if you throw 4 bits, then I can throw my 2 cents in too.
There you go. Hey, I think we could have a contest to see who can send the most bits in. I bet nobody wanted to do 1,000,000 bits. Why don't you guys prove us wrong?
Yeah, it would be great, So we got some people watching out there. Look, comment, join the show. We will be able to talk with you, and you can be part of what's going on here. So do that. Also, after the show airs, we post up the videos to Spotify. Yes, we put the video on Spotify, U42, and Odyssey. So go check those out. Follow us on there. If you want to listen while you work or while you're driving, you'll be able to throw the podcast up there on Red Circle, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and Player FM.
We're everywhere, folks.
I'm working on Apple, Amazon, all that stuff, and it'll be up there soon. So look, support. And then there's also our social media, MeWe, TikTok, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Space Hay, and can't forget about Patreon, where you can support the show and you can get some merch like this mug right here. I love this mug.
I'm actually going to go to the Patreon and support because I'd like a mug myself so I can enjoy a beverage during our broadcast. So that's the one way to make it happen, folks. I'm going to do it today.
So look, there's also that Twitter X thing. Once Elon is gone, because he says he's leaving, but I don't think he's going to leave. I don't think he's leaving. I think he says stuff just to throw it out there. But Twitter X, Broadcasting RI, follow us there, and be part of us. Be part of us. I was jokingly saying it to Kenny that we should become like the Green Bay Packers and have everybody own Rhode Island Broadcasting.
There you go.
The more I think about it, the more I think that sounds pretty cool.
Share of the company.
I think that sounds pretty cool, and I got to figure out how to do that.
$5 times 1,000,000. All of a sudden, we're bringing you guys multiple shows daily because we're going to have time to do it. And we won't have to go out and do our regular day job. So please, feel free to contribute in any way you can.
Yeah, Red Circle allows donations too. So get on Red Circle and throw us a couple of bones, and help out the show. Help out the show. Because we only want to improve everything.
That's right.
Everything. And, go check out the Going On Daily morning show page on Facebook. Support that because we could use it on Facebook and,
So we do have a Going On Daily Facebook page. We just don't have a Rhode Island Broadcasting page because of a terrible snafu that has occurred.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. Go to the show page, ladies and gentlemen. Give us a thumbing and or liking. We would really appreciate that.
That would be massive. All right, Chuck, it is time to get this thing rolling again. We're going to talk a little bit of sad news here with this Idaho fire. What is it? Oh, God, I'm going to butcher this name. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That is the town. Apparently, some guy lit a brush fire just so that the firemen would go there and then start shooting at them. So he killed 2 firefighters and injured another one. And that other one did come out of surgery and he is stable. So that is good. But unfortunately, it killed 2 firefighters. And I'm not going to say, anybody's names in any of this because I don't want to glorify anything. And out of respect for the firefighters, I don't want to say their names. But after they showed up, they were getting shot at, and obviously there's going to be panic, among the firefighters, because like who in their right mind is really going to shoot at firefighters, right? I mean, for what they do for people, I mean, how? I don't understand the rationality in all of this. It just doesn't make any sense. If whatever, everybody's human, and there are good and bad in every single, occupation, whether it's firefighters, police, garbage men, sports, there's good and bad in everything. But are you doing this just for 15 minutes? I just don't understand this. So they take shots, and they have injuries, of course. Now this is now 90 minutes into it, and the fire isn't being put out. So not only did you kill some firefighters, but now you have this wildfire going, because that's what it's blown up to be. Because I believe as of right now, it's still not out.
I don't think so.
So now it's a wildfire. And for what? What are you trying to accomplish? And then you just, you get a shootout with the police, and then you kill yourself because you're not going to make it out of there. So what did you accomplish? You're
Absolutely
not
nothing.
accomplishing anything.
Just causing chaos and causing problems. And like you said, it's the 5 minutes of fame. It's the world that we live in now. People make
Yeah.
TikTok videos doing stupid things, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it gets attention just because it
Yep.
needs to get attention out of the
Right.
severity. But I agree with you 100%. The names don't need to be said because that individual does not deserve any recognition
No.
other
No.
than, from what I understand, the instigator is still at large. Is that right?
No, from what I understand, he killed himself. He was in a
Well,
shootout with the police
good.
for 90 minutes, and he killed himself. Now, whether he acted alone is a totally different story. That might have progressed since last night. I don't know. You know, we was I mean, it's just happened yesterday. So there's a lot of investigation they're trying to figure out him and working backwards to the incident.
To the motives,
And
yeah.
uh, I don't know, it's just, of all the things that you go after firefighters, I mean, there is no reason in the world, for you to do that to just random firefighters.
No, I
I mean,
put
I don't.
firefighters up there with law enforcement, with military, people that willingly risk their lives to keep us safe.
Yes.
And I can't
Yeah.
imagine what a motive would be to shoot firefighters. I mean,
Yeah, I
they
can't.
really have
I
nothing to do
mean,
with anything other than risking their lives to keep us safe.
right.
And it's a disgusting thing. And I don't know if this is correct to say or not, but I'm glad to hear that the individual committed suicide. I wish you would have done that first and then not had any
And
of the
then not
problems. But I guess
exactly.
that's the way you want to go out, and it's very
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I just can't wrap my head around some of these things. It makes no sense to me. I mean, they're heroes.
In every sense.
I mean, if there is anything that is sacred, I mean, it's got to be the firefighter, right? I mean, they just their job, they risk their lives, like you said. It's like I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I get, the point where somebody is done wrong. And I mean, this is like a Criminal Minds episode. That's what this is like.
Indeed.
And I get when people have done wrong, and it could trigger something. But I mean, a firefighter, really?
Yeah.
I just
Really,
don't
really a
understand
sad
it.
way to start the week for sure.
It is, and it's not right. And You know, look, I just think of all the things that they do for the good. I mean,
It's
it's
100% good. There's nothing negative that a firefighter does. Nothing at
right,
all. I can't
right.
think of anybody that is 100% good that really, if you look at the career, it's not the most glorious career. You're literally running into
No,
fires. People are not, super appreciative. They just kind of take it for granted. And it's a short-lived career. You can't be a firefighter for 40 years. So the people that commit to that and the people that do the work and the people that put their lives on the line for us, they deserve the highest level of respect. And it just really does hurt when you see
yeah.
something like this because it's completely unnecessary.
And I don't know like the percentage of criminals that are firefighters. I don't know that. Okay? I don't know the numbers in any of that stuff. But in my time, and I'm now 59 years old. I had to remember 59 years old. I don't think I've ever heard a firefighter, you know, killing people, or doing anything like that. Now, I have heard a firefighter set a fire to become a hero. I've heard that one time. Out of all the crimes in this world, that is the only time I've ever heard a firefighter doing something wrong. Ever. Like
You
it
got
just
to really
doesn't
think.
happen.
Yeah. There's not a lot of cases
Because when
where that happens.
when you go into that job, Chuck, you are someone that wants to help people, you know, and do good. That's what you are in your soul. I
Absolutely, because
mean,
it doesn't pay well. You have to stay,
no.
24 hours on or 48 hours on, and then you get a day or two off, and you're staying in a building with a bunch of other people. You're away from your families.
You're like
That's the
12-hour
most pure
shifts or something
intent
like
that
that. I
they're
don't know.
sad.
It is. It is. So, once in my life I hear something bad, and it was only for the guy to become a hero, so he lit a fire in some, abandoned building, even though there was probably homeless in it, though. But,
Yeah.
that's
Hey,
besides
you're
the
always gonna have that one person that thinks like that, I guess. And,
right.
you know,
But
isolated
that's it.
incident.
That's it. I don't know. I mean, to me, it is the most respectful job anybody could have.
Absolutely. That school teacher,
School teachers is
police,
another one,
military. Those
you
are 4
know?
things that I hold in high regard, and I respect the people that do it because they all have one thing in common. They're very thankless jobs, and
Yeah.
a lot is expected of you, and you don't get as much out of it as you should. And, we talk about that a lot. I own a roofing company, and we talk about how, I sell roofs to people and I make, you know, exponentially more money than school teachers do. And I think that's disgusting. I mean, I think school teachers should be the ones making the money that the baseball and the football players are making, and the football
Right.
and baseball players
Yeah.
should be making the money that the school teachers are making. But it's an upside down world that's entertainment based, and that's kind of
Yep.
one of the big
That is
issues
the
I have.
unfortunate reality. That is true. So look, I put the picture here because when the firefighters and stuff drove by in their procession, on the way back, I'm guessing. I don't know exactly where it was, but in that town, everybody went out to the side of the streets to line up with their flags and everything and saluting the firemen and stuff like that, and ambulance and the police and stuff like that. They saluted them, out of respect for those firefighters. And I thought it was a very classy thing for the town. Yeah, I mean, like everybody was out there. They were stunned on how many people that were on the sides of the streets lined up as they drove by.
Rightfully so.
And it it kind of reminds me, and I know it's not the same scale, but it kind of reminded me of the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, I
You
can
know,
see parallels to that, and both are very unfortunate incidents that were
it should
both,
never happen.
caused by some insanity. And it's really a shame that it takes events like that for us to come together and to show that respect. And I know
Right.
one thing, I'm going to go find myself a firefighter today here in San Antonio, and I'm going to thank them for their service. It's something I don't do frequently, but I do try to do that on occasion for law enforcement and such. Buy them a cup of coffee in the morning, or just thank them for what they do, because as bad as it is, it sure would be a lot worse without those folks. So thank you to
Absolutely.
everyone that does that.
And along with military, I mean, they risk their lives all the time. So, I mean, this is what like being human is. You gotta feel for the other people,
Yep.
whether you know from everyone. It's not just you know firefighters and first responders, like everybody. Like you need to respect even the homeless. Like you just got to show some compassion. You don't have to be a jackass.
That's
You
really
don't
it.
have
Just don't be negative, and you don't even have to be positive. Just stay
right,
neutral. Don't take away or make the situation worse. Don't make people feel like they're
right.
lesser than they actually are, because people that are at their lowest point need someone to just come by and say, "Hey, how you doing today?" And in
Yeah,
a day where they probably get ignored by 99% of the people, just be that 1% that says, "Hey, how are you today?" Smile. It
yeah.
doesn't even take money. Just do
I know
something
when I go
else.
go for a walk or hiking on a trail, whatever. As you pass people by, say hello.
I
You
do
don't
that
have to
every
say
single
anything else.
morning. I make a
Hi,
point of
how are
that.
you? Good morning. You know, it you never know whose life you're gonna change just by a good hello.
That is the truth, my
You never
friend.
know.
100%.
All right, let's move on. I don't wanna keep talking, about a negative situation, even though we're trying to make it a positive one. Because people generally are pretty good
For the most part,
for the most part,
a
right?
small population kind of ruins it for the rest of us, but I guess that's
Yeah.
life. As long as the majority is pretty good, it's still a pretty awesome place to be here on this planet.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than not being here on the planet, I guess.
Yeah, I
Ah,
would agree. I don't know from experience, but I can only assume
yeah.
it is probably better to be here, even though sometimes it's not the greatest, but it's
Yeah.
still better than the alternative, right?
All right, so let's get into this childhood beliefs we swore were true. And I had the little graphic there. I thought that was pretty cool, blowing the wishes, you know.
Oh, yes.
I
Many
I
days I
remember
spent
doing
doing
that.
that as a child.
Yeah,
So,
and then my dad used to yell at me for doing that. It's gonna make more dandelions.
hey, we're responsible. That's what we do. Something pretty and cool, we gotta make more of them, and we didn't hurt anybody. Just
Yeah, but you
annoyed
could
our
eat
families,
them.
and the people that did the landscaping probably didn't love us, but you know what? Again, we were just trying to do something good.
Right, right.
Well, I've got a little list of things here that I thought
This is
back
gonna
over
be
the course of
great.
my childhood, and there were random things that I was told as a child that I come to find out later might not have been 100% true. And I've just compiled 5 of them for today just for
Are
the
you
topic of
saying?
conversation.
Are you
So,
saying our parents lied to us?
well, I don't know if they were lying. Maybe they believed it at the time as well, and they just hadn't grown up enough to realize that what they were saying wasn't true.
Okay.
But here are some things that I thought back from when I was a kid that really stood out to me, because I don't think any of them actually really were real. How about this? When I was a little boy, I used to chew gum. We used to have that gum called Big League Chew, and you would take the gum and you'd put it in your mouth and you'd chew it up a little bit, and I had a bad habit. I would always swallow the gum,
Swallow it.
right? Now, if everything were the way that I was told, I'd probably be dead by now, because I was
Yes.
told that it was going to stay in your digestive system for 7 years and it was going to clog everything up and you were going to not survive. But I've been chewing and swallowing gum my whole life, Ron, and I'm still here. So I don't think, medically speaking, that gum really does stay in your system for 7 years. I think my parents were lying to me on that. And I do think they knew that that was a lie, but I forgive them, because probably not the healthiest thing in the world to be swallowing bubble gum all the time. But
My parents were a little more sadistic than that. They said it was going to blow a bubble into my stomach and it would blow up and I would die.
see,
They were a
did
little
that
more
stop you from
sadistic.
swallowing gum though?
No, it did not.
Okay, see, there you go. We were always living on the edge. Same for me. I knew there was a chance that 7 years from now, my entire digestive system could be filled with bubblicious, and I chose to do it anyway. And here I am 40 years after the fact, and I still feel like
Bubblicious.
everything is still working. So that was the number one thing. Swallowed gum does not stay in your system for 7 years. It has been medically proven, I believe. And as a child, that was something that really impacted me, because every time I'd swallow my gum, I thought, oh man,
That's a great
I
one.
shouldn't have done that. I'm probably going to die now. But
That's
here
a
we
great
are.
one, man. That's a great one. I love it.
Here's another, okay? As a young man, I used to watch cartoons all the time. I think we all did as children. We watched cartoons. Yep. And one of the things that always was happening on these cartoons, there are chase scenes and there's a good guy and a bad guy. And the bad guy's always having things happen to him, like the anvil dropping on the head, or they paint a road runner on the side of a wall and the guy runs into it thinking it's a tunnel. Well, one of the things that was always happening on these cartoons, which really led me as a child to think this was going to be a major concern as I grew up, quicksand. Have you ever been in quicksand? I've never seen quicksand in my life. And as a small child, I thought to myself, it was inevitable that at one point I was going to find myself stuck in quicksand, because it was just everywhere. The cartoons, they all featured quicksand. It was the number one go-to for getting away from the bad guy or getting them stuck. And I don't know, Ron, you ever been stuck in quicksand in your life?
I have not, but I mean, I've heard stories of people, dying in quicksand. So it is out there.
Happen. But I feel like the cartoons may have embellished it just a little bit to really put the fear into us kids and thinking, hey, you could go outside and step in some quicksand without knowing it. And the next thing you know, it's got the sound effects.
It was very daunting when, you're seeing those, and then your parents take you to the beach. And then when you're at the edge of the beach and you got to walk on the sand, you hesitate.
Exactly.
And you lag behind because you're watching the other people walking first, and you
want to see who's going to get stuck before you. Yes. And as much as I hate to admit that, members of my family now, years after the fact, they're probably going to learn I was willing to sacrifice you guys for the greater good. I'd let my cousins walk in front of me just so I'd see where the quicksand was. And, I wasn't even going to try to help them at that point. It's their fault for getting stuck. But quicksand was something that really never panned out to be as big of a problem as I thought. And I really am kind of grateful for that, because it doesn't look like it'd be fun, but quicksand, folks, as children, we really thought it was going to be a thing, Here's another one. And this, I know we just discussed firefighters and such, but this is another one that as a kid, I looked at as this is going to be something that really is going to be a major thing in life. We need to know this, because from kindergarten all the way through school, I was in school in the 80s and 90s. One of the things that was taught the most, and I think we learned this in every grade, this wasn't just a one-time deal. If you ever catch on fire, you have to stop, drop, and roll.
Right.
And again, I'm thankful that we know that. And maybe someday, hopefully not, but maybe someday I'll have to use that knowledge. But I've never caught on fire before, and I've never had to use stop, drop, and roll. That's another thing that they really kind of made us think was going to be a lot more prominent. Like, people are just going to be walking around. They're going to spontaneously combust. And you just got to know that you've got to stop, drop, and roll. And like I said, very fortunate that I've never had to utilize that knowledge. I'm glad that I have it. But
absolutely,
I don't know. Maybe they put a little bit too much emphasis on that, but I'm glad that they did nonetheless.
They would have firefighters go visit you in school, and they would talk about all this stuff. And, what to do in case of this and that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, basically, we were traumatized as kids.
Absolutely. I literally thought I was going to spontaneously combust anytime. And I was so grateful to know, hey, look, this is what I got to do. And the reality of the matter is, if I spontaneously combust, I'm going to forget all of that anyway. But it was very good of them to
Yeah.
teach us. But I also feel like maybe they
Great.
put just a little too much
I'm
emphasis on
laughing
it for the
so
good
hard,
of
I'm
our minds
crying.
as kids. So,
So, I mean, it just goes to show you how parenting was a lot different back then.
oh, indeed. I used to be
It's
allowed to just get on my
it's
bicycle and
fear.
come back 12, 15 hours later. And I did some things as a kid that, well, if my parents
It's
knew,
fear, Chuck. It's total fear. They put the fear into you so that way you do what you need to do. And it
absolutely.
worked.
It did work. And maybe that's something that's lacking in modern parenting. I don't know. I don't know if they still teach that or if they're still teaching kids to avoid quicksand, but I do feel like it did benefit us as a society. And if we hadn't known about it, maybe we would be getting caught in quicksand. Maybe we're all just smart and we understand, hey, this is what happens. So those are three of the bigger ones. Fourth one I had, and this was another big one for me when I was a kid, is I'm always doing this with my knuckles. I'm always cracking my knuckles. And I
Yeah.
remember my dad used to tell me, if you keep doing that, your hands are going to get stuck in that position. Well, I'm here to tell you, after 47 years of doing this, my hands are not stuck in that position. And I think that was just another made up story because it was annoying. And I think the sound was more annoying to my dad than anything. And I think that
Yeah.
he came up with that entire situation to discourage me from annoying him with the sound. And that it wasn't really so much about my benefit or being able to use my hands later on in life or having them stuck in an awkward position. So that's another one. I just kind of glaze over that because to me,
Yeah,
I
see,
don't know. I don't know too many people that have
again,
done this that have had their hands stuck in position.
Chuck, see, my parents were a little more sadistic than yours, apparently. Because
Okay.
my parents would tell me that my fingers would fall off.
There you go.
That they'd literally fall off because
You've
I'd break
probably
them and then
never
they just
done this
fall
in your
off.
entire life for fear of your hands falling off, right? I mean, I guess that's good. Probably for the same reason. Your parents were probably annoyed by that cracking and they said, you know
Yeah, they
what?
probably
They got
were.
together one day and they were like, look, let's just tell little Ronnie here that if he does that, his fingers are going to fall off and we'll stay together in this story. Years later, he'll tell the story about how sadistic we were. And hey, there you go.
I mean, there's so many things that you can really trace back to then. When you make a face behind their backs, say, when you stick out your tongue and stuff like that, you keep doing that,
Face
it's
is
going to
going to
stay that way.
freeze. Yeah. If
Yep.
you step on a crack, you're going to break your mom's back. To this day, I avoid stepping on cracks because I
Yeah,
just
I do
don't
too.
want that to happen. And I'd feel terrible if I knew that me stepping on that crack caused that massive trauma.
Yeah.
So, again,
Yeah.
pretty bad. One
There's so
last one that I
many.
have, and this one really applies to me very, very much, is when you're kids, you've got to sometimes be told or forced to do things that are healthy for you, eat your vegetables and so on and so forth. And one of the big things that I remember as a kid was if you eat your carrots, you're going to be able to see better and you're going to get
Right.
night vision. Well, I'll
Right.
tell you this. I love carrots. I eat carrots to this day very
So do I.
frequently. I am legally blind. And if you want to see how well carrots have helped my night vision, I dare you to get in a car with me and let me drive at night and see exactly what happens. You will no longer believe in the wives' tale that carrots help you. I think
Yeah.
carrots have had a negative effect on me, and I think they've caused me to go even more blind because I do not have night vision
Well,
and I
going
do not
blind is
have
another
clear
one of
vision,
those.
though I have eaten carrots my entire life. So there's a couple things that as kids we were taught, and I think we believed them. And still to this day, when I eat carrots, I think, well, maybe one day my vision will get better.
Yeah.
Hasn't yet.
No.
So we'll see
No,
how
it's
it all
not.
plays out. Thank God for contact lenses and you know, not being able to drive at night when you don't want
Yeah,
to as
that's
an
a good one.
adult.
That was a major one, to be honest with you, because it's like you get told that, and it's like and I don't know if it really hurt the carrot industry.
Right. And that
Because
makes you wonder, was that something that was planted by a carrot farmer
right.
sometime in the early days? Like, hey, we need to boost our sales a little bit. We need to get a little bit more coming in.
Yes.
Let's just tell these kids that this will make them see better and it'll make them have sonic night vision. And all these kids are going to believe it because they're gullible and they believe what they're told by parents and adults. And maybe they were all in cahoots together. And maybe there was a giant carrot industry that we didn't know anything about.
That's how it all starts. It's marketing.
That's all it was. Well done, carrot industry. You're still benefiting to this day, probably.
You probably are.
So,
because have you said that to your kids? It's like all these adults that with these kids and stuff like that, they're all telling them the same thing.
Keep regurgitating it because it had to be true, even though we now have proof. Like I said, get in a car with me at night and see how true it is that carrots help your vision. But still, if I saw a child that was struggling to eat the carrots, that would definitely be my go-to. Come on, little Johnny. You want to be able to see. You don't want to go blind. And don't use me as an example, little Johnny, because for some reason it didn't work for me, but it will work for you. So there you go. Childhood beliefs that we swore were true that ended up maybe not quite being 100% factual.
See,
there you have it, folks.
If you're in the cauliflower industry, you need to create something like this.
Exactly.
Got to create something. Say it does hearing or something like that. You can hear a lot better.
I can assure you that that's not true as well, because I love to eat cauliflower. And if it weren't for these headphones, I'd probably be going, what? So it's all good. Rock and roll music kind of offsets the benefit of the cauliflower, but maybe it does boost your hearing. And maybe my loud music would have completely rendered me deaf at this point had I not been eating my vegetables. I love it. So there you have it, folks. Anybody that's watching this show, if you'd like to comment with anything like that you experienced as a kid, we would love to get some input on it, because there are a lot of things there. A lot of things that we believe that were true that just didn't happen. Giant anvils never did fall out of the sky, and things like that. It just we didn't have talking rabbits. We didn't have any of that stuff. But boy, was it fun to be naive and to think that was all real.
Yeah, and I look at it this way, you mentioned the Roadrunner and all that stuff. Like, I watched all those cartoons. You don't see me going out there and being violent.
No, quite honestly, I feel like Roadrunners and coyotes actually get along. I've seen them in the wild, and I've never seen a single case of the coyote trying to chase the Roadrunner and having all these disastrous things happen to him. It just doesn't happen, folks.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to break that to all of us as adults, but maybe the cartoons weren't real after all.
That was fantastic, Chuck. I loved it. Loved it.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of fun.
All right. So at the box office time, look, F1 grabbed the top spot. F1 the movie. Brad Pitt, right?
I'm looking at this now, and I'm not familiar with I don't do a lot of movies, so I'm guessing F1 is the racing series, right? And Brad Pitt is a superstar, or is he a guy that just, by chance, like Tom Cruise, he just gets
he's like the old timer that's like on his way out, and then you got the new guy coming in, and then there's like conflict and stuff like that. So
indeed, it happens quite a bit.
It grabbed $55.6 million at the box office domestically to take the top spot from How to Train Your Dragon, which was at 19.4. So it was quite a drop to number 2.
It was a shellacking, ladies and gentlemen. F1 was very popular over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got Brad Pitt, so...
And to be honest with you, I think it's kind of refreshing to see Brad Pitt as the old guy instead of being the young, like in Fight Club and all that when he was just the tough guy. Right. It's nice to see that Brad Pitt is actually aging, and that maybe some of the young people are starting to nip on his heels a little bit, even if it's only in the cinema. Yep. Big fan of Brad Pitt, but it's nice to see that he's not perfect after all.
I like a lot of his movies. I do. I like a lot of his movies. It's he's getting older, and he's finding roles that he's enjoying doing as well. He doesn't have to, run from zombies anymore.
Yeah, he's not doing it for a paycheck. Now it's all about the art and it's all about doing what you like. And I'm sure there are probably scripts that he turns down now that he wouldn't have turned down 15, 20 years ago.
Probably.
And that's the ultimate definition of success. So shout out to Brad Pitt. What else can I
Yeah.
say?
Number
He's done
one
pretty well.
movie. Look, Elio, the Disney, it's not doing very well. It was
Disney in
number
general
3.
seems to be having a little bit of a slump here lately. I don't know what the deal is there, but I've seen that
That's
myself.
that was supposed to be a massive movie and not doing very well. It's made $72 million worldwide, but I think that's very light compared to like Lilo and Stitch and How to Train a Dragon. Those kind of movies, all those kids movies, Minecraft, all of those did unbelievably well. This one, it's not doing as well as they thought.
Kids' tastes are changing as we evolve as a humanity here.
Well, it's tough to make a new movie and have it go over, right? That might be
Absolutely.
one that takes a little while to gain momentum.
Yeah, and I
But
think there's something to that. I think a lot of movies are like that nowadays. We're seeing a lot of remakes, a lot of reprises of TV shows and movies, and I
yeah,
think nostalgia is something that a lot of us really love. And the reality is, it's a different world now. You don't really see as many people going to the movies on a Saturday afternoon with their kids. We live in a time where you can rent stuff on your phone or your iPad. You don't
yeah,
have to leave the house to get recent new releases.
yep.
And, unfortunately, that's one of those things that as kids I loved. And I think that it's going the way of the dinosaur to a certain degree, unfortunately. But that's the world we're
Speaking
in,
of
right? Everything's
dinosaurs,
got to be now. Uh-oh.
that comes out July 2nd. So Wednesday it comes out. Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm going to be there
See,
to
there
see it.
you go. People want to see the stuff that we saw back in the day, and we want to see it in
Right.
a newer form, and we want it to be updated. So Jurassic Park was one of my favorites of all time. I
Yeah.
remember when I had my home with the surround sound. That and Days of Thunder were the two best surround sound movies ever. Jurassic
Really?
Park and Days of Thunder. It was something
Because then you
else.
can hear the cars coming and going.
Oh yeah, and the dinosaurs, you feel like they're sneaking up behind you, and it seemed
Oh
very
yeah, man.
realistic. Even though I was in my teens when that happened, it was pretty stellar. I'm not gonna lie.
Pretty awesome. All right, so rounding out the top 10, Megan 2.0, that horror movie. 28 years later, it was number 5, 9.7 million for 28 years later. I heard it was pretty bad. Not gonna go see it. Lilo and Stitch number 6, Mission Impossible's The Final Reckoning was number 7. Materialist was number 8, and then Ballerina, which was fantastic, was number 9 with 2 million, and Karate Kid, which I have not seen, the new one, Legends, is number 10. That one didn't do very well either.
Karate
102
Kid, that's
million
a surprise
worldwide.
because that was a great movie.
You saw that one?
I didn't see the new one, but the
Oh,
original Karate Kid was
oh
amazing when
yeah.
I was young.
Oh, of
And
course.
again, it just kind of lends to the fact that everything's getting regurgitated nowadays. And I don't think that the kids
Yeah.
nowadays have the same interest that we did. And maybe Karate Kid's not as popular to the children as it is to the adults. And not as many adults are going to the movies. So,
Well, you look at it, 7 of the top 10 are all either remakes or sequels to something else.
yep.
Elio, F1 the movie, although you can debate F1 is, you know, a, a regurgitation of racing.
Absolutely. Those
Uh,
movies are all going to be successful, though. It's like
so
Rocky.
really, Elio and the Materialists are the only original content in there.
It's getting easier to make movies, I think. Just go back 20 years and pick a number, any number, and just make that one again and change it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I guess it goes to show, though, that people are kind of onto you, Hollywood. And, you can only make so many stories over and over again before it gets old. And new content as well it's just different, It's just a different world.
Yeah, so July 2nd, of course, like we mentioned, Jurassic World Rebirth comes out. July 11th, Superman. So again, these are all reboots. And
Superman's been done once or twice.
July 18th, I Know What You Did Last Summer, a new one. They rebooted I Know What You Did Last Summer. Eddington, I don't know what that is. And Smurfs are coming back.
You can't go wrong with the Smurfs, but I'm interested to see how they do in the box office. Because again, I don't think that kids nowadays are a big fan of the Smurfs as we were as children. The
Right.
Smurfs were a Saturday morning tradition back in the day, and I don't even think they have Saturday morning cartoons anymore.
I think they're banking on that generation bringing their kids.
I hope so. Let's make them proud, everybody. Let's make the Smurfs know that they mattered to us, and that's something that I think would be all right to pass on to the next generation, and hope that they can run with it.
Yeah, and then July 25th, Fantastic Four First Steps comes out. So again, there is no new content there. It is all remakes for the next 4 weeks. It's that's the world we're living in, right? Those are the blockbusters.
There you go.
Expected blockbusters.
And you wonder why that the entertainment in general is kind of stagnant. It's because there's nothing new coming out. It's the same thing just being spit back out again and again.
Nothing new.
Hoping that we foolishly go out there and think that the Smurfs are going to do something completely different this time around.
Right. It's not going to be.
Hopefully they do. Hopefully the Smurfs save the world.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I don't know when the real new stuff is coming. I know I'm going to be
again.
I'm going to be watching, Happy Gilmore 2 the 25th of July July.
That one does interest me. I'm not going to lie. I'm a big fan of Happy Gilmore. I kind of want to see, but I also think that it may be one of those things where you look at it and say, maybe we didn't need a Happy Gilmore 2 25 years after the fact.
I know.
So we can only hope.
I'm a little worried about that. Let me tell you, because a sequel to a comedy isn't like a sequel to, like, say, Lethal Weapon. So, you make a first Lethal Weapon. Oh, it only makes sense you get a second one. Beverly Hills Cop, same thing, right? Horror movies, you expect there to be another one. Comedies, I don't know. They never live up to the hype of the first one.
They don't. And Happy Gilmore, I mean, awesome. It wasn't the most realistic film ever created. The thing that really impresses me the most about Happy Gilmore 2 is Grandma's still alive. And Grandma's actually in the movie.
Is she?
And it's like, dude, she's been stuck in that place with Ben Stiller as her, you're going to shut the hell up or go to bed. For 25 years, she's still around. So what?
I can't believe she is.
She's still alive. I saw an article about that.
It's worth watching it just for that.
Just for Grandma. She's over 100 years old now, and she's in the movie. So I feel bad for her because she's been stuck there for that entire period of time.
Wow.
Unless maybe he got her out and took her on tour with him, and Shooter McGavin may have donated some money to help her out. Who knows? I guess we're going to have to tune in to see. And Netflix, thank you. I think we'll reserve judgment until we view the film, and then we'll decide whether or not it was worth it. But much like having Mike Tyson go fight Jake Paul on Netflix, they know people like us are going to watch it because we just can't stop.
The Jake Paul just fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. yesterday.
Yeah, on
No,
Saturday night, and I
Saturday.
guess it was terrible. I didn't choose to watch, but
I didn't
you know,
watch it either.
I'm
I
sure it's
wasn't giving
raking
him
in
my money.
money. They wouldn't do it all the time if someone wasn't paying for it, right?
Yeah, I refuse. I refuse. I'm assuming Jake Paul won. I don't know. I
He
didn't even
won.
look.
Yeah, they said that Chavez threw like 5 punches the entire fight, and
Yeah, because it's
you
fixed.
know, it's scripted. It's unfortunate, and maybe one day we'll see him get in there with somebody that just says, "You know what? Script be darned. Here we go," and
Oh
just
my
watch him
god.
get
I
punched.
want to see him get his head knocked off,
It would be
rolling
fun to
around the
watch at this
ring.
point. He definitely knows how to get the crowd involved, and I think it's pretty unanimous that most people hate Jake Paul, even though he's probably a pretty good guy. He plays the character well,
Yeah.
much like
Yes.
his brother. His brother's in WWE, and he's
Yup.
very hated and he's very arrogant. And
Yup.
I just started doing this last year, and I'm better than all these guys. And you know, it does sell. Animosity is definitely always going to be
Yeah.
something that moves the needle.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to win if you have it scripted that way.
Yep, and it's got to pay well.
Oh, you don't think Mike Tyson made a fortune over that thing?
He made the most money of any fight in his entire career, and deservedly so. Even if it was fake, I was all about Mike Tyson getting his because when I was young, we'd watch those fights, and he was absolutely the most fearful person. And he was very surprisingly upset by my hometown guy, James Buster Douglas, back in 1990. And it kind of took the allure off of Mike after that. But
Yeah.
before that happened, man, he was something. And just the
Terrifying.
people that thought he could go out there at 65 years old or whatever and still be that, we
I
deserve
still
to
think
get conned.
look, if it was legit, I think he would have won. I think
I
he would
do
have won.
too. His training videos didn't look like his actual in-ring performance. And I thought, if he really wanted to,
Yeah,
I think Mike Tyson could still take Jake Paul.
yeah, I
But
don't even think it's close either. I don't think
nope,
it's close. He's a terrifying man if you're going up against him.
absolutely.
All right, let's get into this last topic. Unwritten rules that everyone follows, but nobody talks about.
Indeed. This is another thing that I was thinking back, and it's like, there are a lot of little nuances in life that we just kind of accept as rules, even though nobody really has ever stated them to be such. And a couple of these things really kind of resonate with me because I do see this on a regular basis. So the first one I have there is I travel quite a bit and I stay in a lot of hotels and I go to a lot of conventions and things like that. And in many of these places, we have to get in elevators and share elevators with other people. Now, don't know how many elevators you've been in your life, Ron, but here's something that I've noticed in elevators. When you get in the elevator, you never make eye contact with any of the other people and you never speak to the other people. And I don't think that that's a written rule anywhere, but I can tell you that I've probably been in 5,000 elevators. And the first thing you have to do is you focus really hard on the number. There's like 3 or 4 numbers, and you have to focus really hard to show that I'm on level 3. And then you step back and you look straight forward and you don't say a word. And the people that get on the elevator, they don't say a word to you. You get off the elevator, you pretend like you've never seen each other before, you go your separate ways. But elevator etiquette is one of those things that just kind of stuck out to me. And it was like, I think there's some truth to that.
And I'll even go a little further than that, Chuck, because if you're with someone and you're talking and talking, you press the button, you're still talking. As soon as that elevator door opens, boom, everybody's quiet. You go in, you press the button you want, and then that's it. Nobody talks.
No speaking in the elevator. It's almost like if we say too much, the elevator's going to get stuck or something bad's going to happen. So we don't want to be the ones with the bad karma. We get in, we don't talk, we mind our business, and then we go on about our day.
And you stare
Elevator
at the
etiquette,
thing when it
folks.
goes up the next level, the next level, the next level.
And everybody's watching and everybody's paying close attention, I'm on 14, now we're on 10. How many more until we get to 14? Oh, 11, 12, 13. This must be me. And then boom, we'll see you later. And then once you get outside the elevator, you can start talking to them like your friends.
Yeah.
Strange, but it is an
It
unwritten
is.
rule. And I think that anybody that gets in elevators is probably going to think back to a time and say, you know what? I've never carried on a meaningful conversation in an elevator. Never really paid much attention to strangers in an elevator. And there you have it. That's part of the deal,
I
right?
tried to one time going to visit my mom uh, at um, at the home she was staying at, and I tried to have a conversation with someone.
It was met with awkward silence, wasn't it?
Yes,
Uh-huh. There you go. People just
yes,
know you can't talk in the elevator, no matter how friendly you are, how energetic you are, how nice you want to
yeah,
be. The other
yeah.
person
And
just realized at
and I
that point,
felt
hey,
so
we can't do
awkward
this.
after. I felt
Mhm.
so awkward. I didn't know what to do, and I'm like, "There's no response." Okay, all right. What do I do now?
Yep. There you have it. It's a very odd phenomenon, but it is
Elevator.
true. And anyone that's
Who would have
lived it knows it. So
thought?
that's the deal. Okay. Another one that is kind of relative to that. And this is something I also deal with as a human being. I think we all have dealt with this at some point. Speaking to each other in a public restroom. I don't think that
Oh,
too many people are trying to carry on conversations, but
oh,
when the people do, they stand out like a sore thumb. And you realize that the guy that's trying to talk to you at the urinal or even worse, those people, they've got something wrong with them because that is not common practice in any way, shape, or form. You look forward, you look down, you do not speak to the other people. And once you get out of the public restroom, again, you can be friends. But it's almost like there's that go in, you're
do
on
what
your
you
own
got to
here.
do.
This is your situation, and you don't want to mess too much up with that because anyone that's willing to talk back with you in a public restroom, they're probably even more deranged than you are. So don't let that out if you are that person. So
Yeah,
speaking in a public restroom, no, absolutely not.
yeah, that's a good one because
Yeah,
that again,
there's some
uh,
craziness there. Here's another thing that I've noticed quite a bit, and there was actually, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Curb Your Enthusiasm, but there
yep,
was an actual episode about this many, many years ago. And to me, this is another unwritten rule that sometimes people try to break. And I think people like Larry David need to be more prominent in this world to call this out is when you're standing in line somewhere and you're waiting your turn like a good person, and the line might be long, and then you see someone come walking up and they kind of start, oh, hey, they start talking to someone towards the front of the line and they try to kind of get their way into line without having to wait. And Larry referred to that as the chat and cut. And I've
yeah,
seen this happen a couple times, where people don't want to wait their time. They don't want to wait in line. So they start meandering around and then they say, oh, hey, it's Ron. And you may not even know this person very well, but they're going to try to be your best friend in that moment to avoid having to wait their time in line. And
oh,
I think that the
absolutely,
chat and cut is an absolute horrible thing that most of us are well aware of. It's not something that you've had written on the rules of humanity, but do you really need to? And the people
yeah,
that try to disobey that one, they're usually the
yeah,
troubled people in this world that feel they're entitled. They don't respect anybody else's time, and they do deserve to be called out. So if you're in a public situation where you're in line and you see the chat and cut, do not hesitate to call it out. It is your duty as a human and to
that's right.
do your duty for mankind. So chat and
Yeah,
cut.
they had an episode on Impractical Jokers about that,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to each get up to the front of the line, to get the tickets to the event, and it's a massive line. It was from some Broadway show, and so they had to do their best to do that, and only one of them pulled it off without security coming.
See, and
So
that's rightfully so.
right,
Kudos to the one person that not everybody mutinized against them and threw them out of line, but that's what
yeah,
needs to happen in those situations. We can all
absolutely,
band together and we can all unite against the chat and
yeah.
cutters because it's not fair to us. So
Yeah, I
that's
I think I would, even if somebody did that to me and I'm seeing them, they're trying to weasel their way in, and I'm like, well, you know, it shouldn't take you too long to go back there and wait. I haven't been here, terribly long. It's only been 15 minutes, but I would make sure that they're going to the back of the line. I'm not letting a friend butt in.
absolutely. That's when it's okay to make a scene.
If I
We're doing
have
it
to
for
wait, then you
everybody.
gotta go wait.
That's right. And if you're the person that calls it out, usually everybody around you will cheer for you and say, yeah, you're the man, you're a hero. And you have
Exactly.
done your part that day to make society a better place.
Exactly.
And everybody should be giving you a round of applause. So that's an awesome one. I've got two more here real quick. And this one really hits home with me, especially this morning. This was a great example that just got put onto this morning. I get up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning and I go to the gym. I like to go to the gym early because I don't like to work out in crowds because there are a lot of people that don't understand gym etiquette. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's much fewer people, but there's still a couple. And a guy this morning got on this list because of his behavior at the gym. And for anyone that does a gym that goes to the public
I knew what
gym
you
to
were gonna
work
say
out,
too.
this guy, okay, he comes in, he's taken up 3 or 4 spots. He's got his phone on one, he's got a bag on another, he's got a hat on another one. He's taken up 4 stations. I'm there for an hour and a half, Ron, and I see this guy do maybe 3 reps of 3 or 4, and then he's walking around talking on the phone. He's got the speaker phone on so everybody can hear what's going on, making a complete fool of himself. And the simple fact was he had these machines tied up. And why this came into my mind was one of my buddies there decided that it was wrong and he was going to stand up against this terrible scenario. He moved the guy's bag off the bench and started doing his work, and it led to a confrontation. So now I'm stuck thinking to myself, okay, in the gym, another thing I do is I don't talk to anybody because I don't want to make any kind of weird comments or say
Right.
something to someone that makes them
Right.
think I'm strange. I go there, I put in my music, and I stay quiet. But they start an argument, which leads me to believe, okay, I have to take sides. Anytime there's a conflict, you've got to take sides. You can't be neutral, especially when it's something as important as gym etiquette. And 100%, I was on the side of the guy that's always cool, that wipes the machines off when he's done, that's polite, and the guy that's walking around doing nothing for 45
Yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
taking up all the space, talking loud on the phone, being a completely obnoxious idiot. He was in the wrong. So if you go to the
Absolutely.
gym and you're watching our show today, don't be that person because you will stand out. And there's a little secret society of people that go to the gym at the same time. And we don't
Yeah.
really talk to each other, but we make eye contact. And if we
And
see
you
these
know that
people
they're
out in
always
public,
there.
we kind of have if it goes down, I know this guy over here that I see at the gym who I don't even know personally, we get a little, a nod and we know, hey, I got your back. You got my back. We're there every day.
Yep.
We're team. And nobody likes the person that's going against the
No.
grain in that situation. We don't go there to
No.
hear your business.
And
We
that's
don't go there to
why
see what you're doing.
this is why, like the first couple of weeks of New Year's, you don't see those regulars go to the gym because all these people that have their New Year's resolution going
They
the
come
first
and mess up
2
the
weeks.
entire thing. They muddy the
Yeah,
wave
so they
pool.
don't show up. They don't show up at that time because now they have to wait till these people fall off, you know?
And it
And
doesn't take long. It's a week at the most, and you see it thin back
right,
down. In the gym, if it weren't for those New Year's resolution people, the gyms wouldn't be as nice for those of us that go every day or every week throughout the year, because just the people that go probably wouldn't provide enough revenue for everything to be maintained. So I definitely thank the people,
right.
and I encourage people to have goals, and I encourage them to set resolutions. But if you decide I'm going to get in shape starting on January 1st, probably not going to happen. If you're going to
Yeah,
do it now, and don't worry about the day, the time, the event. And
yeah.
those are the people that stand out. That's why I go at 4 a.m,
And wash
because
the machine after you're done using it.
thank you. One guy, and I could point him out if I see him in public every single time. He's always making these loud, "Ah, ah," and he never cleans the machines. And deep down in my heart, sometimes I'm training for the day that I'm going to have to fight this guy. And I hope it never happens, but I'm training just hard enough because I know one day something might go down, and that's going to be the guy that's on B team, and he's not going to be the guy that I want on my side because I don't like the way he
Right.
behaves. And if we have to have Armageddon, he's one of the people that I'm looking for. So
Well, there you go.
There
I
you
love
go.
that.
I know
That's
that's
another
kind of a
good one.
crazy take on the gym,
No,
but
it's good though. I mean, like this is stuff that people need to know. You
indeed.
need to
And
know
most
these
people
things.
don't think about it because it is an unwritten rule. And I think that most people do follow it, but the one or two that don't, y'all are standing out
Yep.
like a sore thumb. So
Yep.
don't be that person. Last one I have here, I think this is also quite important. This is dining etiquette. And
Ooh.
dining etiquette to me is people that talk while they're chewing, people that chew with their mouths open. This drives me insane, Ron. And I know quite a few people. And if you're watching this and you go to lunch with me, you probably know that I'm talking about you right now. No names will be mentioned, but you know who it is. Another thing that drives me crazy is everybody at a table orders, and there's a couple that take a little bit longer to come out. Proper etiquette in my mind is not to start shoveling food in your mouth until everybody has their food.
Everybody has their food.
And I know that's not popular. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, hey, I don't want my food to get cold. Well, I think it's right. And I think if you're the person that's waiting, you're looking at the others saying, man, really, that's a lack of respect. And I think if you're the person eating, it makes you look bad. Like, dude, you can't wait an extra 2 minutes before you start shoveling the food in. But I know a
Exactly.
lot of people that do that. So,
especially if you're on a date.
oh my gosh.
Oh my
If you're on
God.
a date and you do that, you are absolutely not going to get a second date. And
No,
if you
will
do,
not.
you're not going to end up being happy in a relationship like that, because that will come back to be used against you at some point down the road, whether
That's
it be
right.
from the person you're with or someone
And
that
it
they
should
know.
be.
Exactly.
It should be used.
Exactly. Another thing that drives me crazy. It is not hard to say, hey, Ron, pass the salt, pass me the ketchup. Instead of someone saying, and reaching all the way over where you're sitting and reaching over your food, there's a bubble, an unspoken bubble around every person at the table.
Airspace.
And you don't invade that
Airspace.
private spot because everybody's judging you, whether you know it or not. So I was a victim of that many times over the course of my childhood. That was a bad habit that my dad would do, is he'd reach across, and I don't know if he ever realized how we were viewing him, but it wasn't favorably.
It's airspace. You can't cross your airspace of your food, because
Exactly.
I've been in a situation where somebody reached over and their elbow went into my food.
Mm-hmm. Did that make you want to continue eating that food?
Oh, it was pissed, and I yelled at them. I was like, "What the hell
Exactly.
you think you're doing?"
And those people don't even understand that it's
food.
gross that they just elbowed your food. Oh, there, it's just a little elbow, no big deal. And that's the ultimate sign of someone that has a slight or maybe even extreme case of narcissism. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's just my elbow. And I'm willing to fight when something like that happens. So there you go. So those are some unwritten rules that everybody follows, but nobody really talks about. And the reality is there are always one or two people that don't follow those unwritten rules. And it makes me wonder, should we write a book somewhere that has the unwritten rules in them so that they are actually written rules and these folks will understand a little better? I don't know.
You can send all these people that annoy you this book.
Exactly. Here's a Christmas present. Unwritten rules that you should follow. Put them in writing, make them official, right? And then they're punishable because everybody knows.
That's right. Probably make a fortune off of this book.
Well, you and I may have just become multimillionaires without even knowing it,
We might.
I think that's a pretty good idea.
Like, look, we could do a whole show on this itself.
Oh, absolutely. We could do an entire series of shows.
Oh, my God. All right. So, Chuck, that was fantastic. The two topics you did today hit it right on the nose. Right on the nose.
I use Larry David as my example, but I'm kind of like him. I don't say a lot, and I'm very friendly to people outwardly, but inside, some things really do drive me mad. And I think today was really kind of a microcosm as to what my personality is and who I am as a human being, and some of the things that drive me a little crazy. So
it was fantastic. I loved this episode. It was so fun to do. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I wish you guys would have been chiming in with your comments. I know there's a bunch of people watching, so thank you for watching.
Yeah, don't be bashful, guys.
Tomorrow, it is Becky Turner coming in, and I will be with Becky, and we will have another great show, I'm sure, because we always have a great show. So look forward to that. 10 a.m. If you're out in Alberta, Canada, 8 a.m. in the morning. So first thing in the morning. And same thing in Texas. Although, does Texas cross over 2 time zones?
It would be 9 a.m. in Texas.
So it's only 1 throughout the whole state.
Exactly. As far as I know. That's an interesting question.
Because it's a big state.
It's huge.
So 9 a.m. San Antonio time. So hopefully everybody joins us. Don't forget to watch us on YouTube and all of our other social media. And have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you guys for watching.